Assalamu alaikum jameen wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A very warm welcome to all our dear brothers, sisters, our Sophia TV family on this show where we discuss some of the philosophies and practices of Hajj. Now don't worry, as I always say, I am here with you, and we're also joined by our dear respected alim, our Hajj expert, Sayyid Ali Raza Rizvi. Now, specifically speaking for this episode, we're going to be focusing upon the women's obligations and some of their queries and concerns at the stage of Umrah Tamattu, as well as the stage of Hajj itself. So without any further delay, I welcome the Sayyid to the show. Sayyidina, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you today?
Alhamdulillah.
So dear Sayyid, as I was explaining to our dear viewers, we're going to be looking at some of the concerns and queries of women, specifically in Umrah Tamattu and Hajj itself. So to get things started, if per se a woman menstruates before entering Ihram for Umrah Tamattu or the Hajj itself, what are her obligations?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. As the miqat of the people of Medina, so as we travel from here to either Jeddah, we fly to Jeddah or to Medina. If we fly to Medina, then from Medina we'll be traveling to Mecca, and that way our miqat will be Masjid al-Shajara.
Yes.
And if we go to Jeddah, then we'll be driving or taking a flight to Medina and then driving from Medina to Mecca.
Yes.
Again, the same miqat applies. Now, if our miqat is Masjid al-Shajara, and if a woman starts to menstruate before her ihram, then she can wear her ihram without entering the mosque, because in the state of menstruation, women cannot enter any masjid or haram. Haram of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or the imams of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. That way, she will have to perform her ihram, wear her ihram outside Masjid al-Shajara if she menstruates before the ihram. So her menstruation has started and she must perform the ihram outside masjid. And then all the other obligations apply to her, that she'll be in the state of ihram. She must not perform any of the things that are forbidden for her in the state of ihram. And she goes to Mecca, and in Mecca she cannot enter Masjid al-Haram. And until she is clean, she will wait to become clean from menstruation, take a ghusl, and then with wudu enter Masjid al-Haram to perform her tawaf. So until she becomes clean, she remains in the hotel or in Mecca without entering the Haram.
Okay, and is this the same for wearing the ihram in Mecca itself, so in the hotel for the Hajj?
So in Mecca, because she is going to be performing the ihram, she wears the ihram anywhere in Mecca. She doesn't have to enter Haram, Masjid.
Yes.
So she can perform the ihram, and she goes to Arafat and she performs her obligations of Arafat, Mash'ar, and then Mina.
Yes.
In the state of menstruation. But she doesn't perform prayers, it is forbidden, but she cannot enter the Haram to do tawaf until she becomes clean again.
Okay, so the Haram is essentially like a sanctified place where you have to be clean spiritually or ritually speaking.
Ritually clean to enter the Haram.
And what about her dues in the Haram itself? Can she nominate someone to perform them on her behalf, or?
She can only nominate for Umrah Tamattu and Hajj Tamattu for the Tawaf and the 2 rakat prayers if it becomes too late. For example, she has performed Umrah Tamattu, she has worn the Ihram, she has entered Makkah, but she enters, let's say, on the 1st or the 2nd of Zul Hijjah.
Yes.
And she has a week and she's not going to be clean before the end of the week when the time for Hajj starts.
Yes.
Only then she can ask another person to do niyabat on her behalf, to do the tawaf and the 2 rakat prayers. And then she must do the sa'i herself, and do taqseer, and then she'll be out of ihram for Umrah Tamattu. And then she will again later on perform the ihram of the Hajj Tamattu herself.
But they say, what if, for example, she calculates that she won't be at the time clean by the end of the week per se, but then she nominates someone to do the Umrah Tamattu or the Hajj Tawaf and 2 rakat Salah for her, but then she finds that no, she was fine. What can she do in that instance?
Okay, now if she has already removed her ihram, then that niyabat is fine.
Okay.
Her niyabat has been performed, and therefore the person who has performed on her behalf the tawaf and the 2 rakats, and then she has performed the sa'i, and taqseer, her duty has been performed.
So there's no worry there.
There's no worry
But
there.
if she's wearing her ihram and she then finds out still within...
She still doesn't have to do it. It may be better for her that if she hasn't removed her ihram and she becomes tahir or clean, for whatever reason that, it happens that she has become clean again, and she's still in the state of ihram, then she, and while sa'i or something like that, she comes back.
Okay.
For the tawaf. But generally, it'll be, that's not, it's unlikely.
Yes. Okay. And they say in this respect then, let's say, per se to speak, a woman's clean, everything is fine, but during the tawaf, be it for Umrah Tamattu or the Hajj tawaf itself, she realizes at that point that she's not clean. What happens in that instance?
During the tawaf?
During the tawaf.
If during the tawaf she starts to menstruate, then she must leave the haram. She must break her tawaf. Her tawaf breaks automatically as soon as she starts to bleed, and she must leave the haram, vacate, for the, she cannot continue with the tawaf, and she will wait until she becomes clean to come back to perform tawaf. If for any reason she has to leave before she becomes clean again, then she can ask someone else to perform the tawaf and the 2 rakats on her behalf, and then she must perform the sa'i herself, and then tawaf al-nisa and the 2 rakats someone else must perform on her behalf, if she doesn't become clean until she, about to leave.
And if there's an issue in terms of, because she's with a group, let's say her first time, she can't leave the tawaf immediately because she's with a group, she's a bit scared at the same time, can she just still keep circling?
No, she has to leave the haram immediately.
There's no leeway on that. She has to straight away.
Yes, because once a person is in a state of impurity, man or woman,
yes,
because a man can have, for whatever reason, because it's, people are pushing, people are going through a lot, they can, God forbid, have, either have a leak or something like that, or whatever.
Yes.
They must leave the haram, because cleaning the haram is fawri, it has to be sudden, and they must leave to clean themselves, to perform the purification, and they cannot continue with the tawaf.
Thank you, dear Syed. But in terms of, let's say a woman has performed a tawaf and she's clean, but come to the time of prayer behind the 2 rakat prayer behind Maqam Ibrahim, again, that's when she realizes that no, there was an issue. What can she do in that respect?
If she is sure that her tawaf was correct,
yes, then
she must now leave and she must ask someone else to perform the 2 rakats on her behalf.
Okay.
And she cannot wait because the 2 rakats have to be straight after the tawaf.
Yes.
And she must ask someone else to perform the 2 rakats on her behalf in niyaba, and she must leave the haram.
And this is the same case if she's doing the Hajj for herself or if she's doing it on behalf of someone else. It's the same.
Yeah, it makes no difference.
Okay. And they say it in terms of, so we've covered the tawaf, which is fine, but in terms of the stoning and the other obligatory acts like sa'i and so on, again, for that, if she's in the state of menstruation, can she delegate those tasks?
Yes, so she can perform the sa'i, she can perform the stoning of the satans, she can perform the stay at Arafah, the stay at Mina, the Muzdalifah. She can perform all of those in that state except for the tawaf and the 2 rakats.
Okay, so again, strictly speaking, that is just the thing, that there's no budging per se. You have to be clean, ritually speaking.
Yes,
for that.
To enter the masjid and to enter the haram, to perform the tawaf and the 2 rakats.
But what if she's a bit scared of the congestion, be it at the stoning or during the tawaf itself or sa'i? So she's ritually clean, but she's just scared of the congestion. What can she do in that instance?
Then all the same rules that we've previously discussed for all elderly or the women which are fearful, or so the same thing, all the same rules apply, that she can ask another person to perform those on her behalf. Some of those she cannot. She has to be like in Maidan Arafah, in the plains of Arafah. She has to, that's a rukn. And likewise some of the other things. So she has to, but the other things like stoning the satans and everything, she can request for a niyabat, for a person to perform all of those on her behalf.
And just for the record, again, I know we'll be discussing this in the next episode, but let's say she doesn't know of this and she learns about this after. is there a penalty in that instance for her forgetfulness or her misknowledge?
So you're saying about the tawaf?
Yes, the tawaf itself. So she didn't know about this ruling.
Then her tawaf is not valid, and she will have to ask someone else to perform it on her behalf. Or if she remembers it later, then she must. Because that tawaf and prayers are unfortunately invalid.
Yes.
For it to be valid, tahara is a shart, is a condition, is a prerequisite.
Yes.
So without wudu, if you performed a prayer, your prayer is not acceptable. Even if you remember later that yes, I had not performed wudu, no matter how perfect your prayer was, your prayer is void because the prerequisite of prayer, which is wudu, was ritual ablution, was invalid. Likewise, if a woman was in menstruation and she only realized later,
yes,
her tawaf was invalid and she will have to perform it again.
Okay. Thank you, dear Sayyida, for that beautiful explanation. I apologize, that's all the time we had for this show for today. Our dear viewers, I hope you found that very useful as well. Inshallah, please join us for the next episode, which focuses upon the kafarat, so the penalties. And the reason I say this is because many people tend to find out about the mistakes or doubts after they've come back from the Hajj, and that really costs them, because some of these kafarat, as we will find out in the next episode inshallah, must be paid whilst you're in the Holy Land of Makkah. And trust me, you do not want to be one of those people. So please do tune in our next episode. On behalf of the Safiya TV team, our dear respected Sayyid, myself, take care. Remember us in your du'as. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.